Joy, you want to shoot away?
Well, you had a chance to put the 3 points.
Koho was right there. You know, no, we looked, we couldn't really see. It really wouldn't matter. You know, referee right behind the net called it off all the way. So must not have been.
Putting that many shots on goal in the final minute there, were you kind of surprised that nothing could get through?
Well, yeah. It's a surprise. I don't know. It's too bad we couldn't have played that way the whole game. You know, I mean, that's probably the biggest surprise for me is, you know, we come home, great crowd, game number 3, which we know is a pivotal point in most series. You know, it just didn't feel like we played as well as we can play. You know, and again, I think we got to give credit to Houston. They're playing it tight, and you know, we got to work for every inch. But at the same time, you know, I've said it before, I know this group, I know my guys, and we're not quite where we should be or where we need to be, obviously. I don't think it deflated us. I mean, it's unfortunate, you know. In fact, both their goals were just kind of sloppy scrambles, but that's the way you get rewarded when you work hard and throw pucks to the net and get traffic to the net. You know, same thing we're preaching, but up until the very end, I don't think you would have seen many chances from our end like the 2 goals that they scored. So we're close. Close isn't going to cut it, and you know, we're going to have to fight for every little inch. And you know, they're real good with the puck. They're real strong without the puck. This is going to be a good one. Well, I thought he played well. You know, I mean, if he could have one of the 2 back, probably the first one. You know, if he's hugging the post, that one's not ending up in the net. But you know, he gave up 2 goals. We should have been able to get 3. But Robin is not our problem. Robin has played very well for us.
So you've seen teams you know, in this arena actually clog up the neutral zone many times. And what can your team do to kind of break that up and get more?
I've got some ideas, and that's a great question.
No answer? Yeah.
I won't. No. I'll hold on to that one. But no, it's a very good question, and they're doing a great job in the neutral zone, no question. There's just some things that we can definitely do some things differently that should help us in that regard.
You said Robin was not your problem. Can you summarize what problems have been?
What our problems have been? No, we're playing a very good team, a very determined team. This series is going to be a series of inches. You know, there will be moments where we'll win 1 2-1. And Mike will stand up here and just say, you know, we just got just a little bit outworked and a little bit outdetermined tonight. That's an awfully good team over there. I think that's where we're at. You know, they really do a nice job. If you watch them play, there's always 5 guys in the picture. You know, there's not 3 or 4 with 1 coming. I mean, there's always 5 guys working the play together on both sides of the puck. That's a credit to him. He's done a great job. Well, you know, not really. I think yes, we did make some adjustments, but I think what made the biggest difference was we made a few changes in our line combinations. You know, we put Hoffman up with Locke and Butler. That seemed to make a little bit of a difference. You know, and then I don't know. We just got a little bit more determined. We played the way in the 3rd period the way we should have been playing for the whole game. Now, why didn't we play that way? I don't have the answer to that. That's one of the things that frustrates a lot of coaches. You know, this is the Calder Cup Finals. You wouldn't really expect that your group would not show up and give you an honest 60. You know, I feel like we can be better.
What is really going to be the difference if you continue to be so closely every match?
That's what's going to make this series so interesting. Is I don't see big weaknesses on either side. I really don't. You know, when you try to, we've had opportunities in every series up to this point to really pick on something that we felt gave us an advantage. And we don't really have that You know, you can't really say, let's just get pucks behind their D, because I like our matchup there with our forwards against their D, because their D are awfully good. You know, they break out very well. You know, they're a good team. They're a complete team. They really don't have many weaknesses. You know, you take penalties, they're going to score on the power play. When we get power play opportunities, their penalty killers do a nice job. You know, when they need a big save, they get one. Again, I agree. I think there are a lot of similarities in these two teams, and you know, we're just going to have to find a way now on Friday night to show up and be just a little bit better, a little bit more determined, a little bit hungrier, and find a way to get pucks behind them.
About being able to put those pucks back in net, as much as you guys have so far in those seasons, do you find that your guys are getting frustrated at all?
I don't think so, but that's not to say they won't. I mean, it's certainly something that we'll need to address, and we'll need to make sure that no matter what happens, frustration can't be creeping into our locker room, because that's not the answer. You know, the answer is just to make sure that every guy is prepared, that this group shows up every night together, and we play the honest way for 60 minutes. That's been the formula that has gotten us up to this point. That's the formula that's going to carry us forward, you know. And again, I knew this one wasn't going to be easy. You know, in my gut, I was hoping we could win all three here, but common sense told me I knew we were going back to Houston at some point. You know, that's just the way this was going to be.
In that same breath, do you think guys are getting anxious at all and trying to force stuff because you haven't had a lot of offense going? Do you see that at all?
No, I really don't. You know, I don't. You know, I don't think we've played as comfortable as we've had a chance to play up to this point. You know, but I can't really put my finger on it either. You know, other than I know we're playing an awfully good team that's real stingy. They've made it tough on us. You know, we've had a tough time forechecking our dump pucks. Some of that just has to do with where we're placing those pucks, but some of it has to do with the way we're going at them as well. You know, they've done a nice job in the neutral zone. You know, not many opportunities where we've been able to carry the puck through the neutral zone and try to generate stuff off the rush. I mean, they've been real stingy.
The fact that this series is getting a little chippy, is that a good thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're 3 games in now. I mean, these guys, they shouldn't much care for one another at this point. And you're seeing some of that coming. It's just going to get better, too. You know, it'll get better.
The Cody Bass line has provided some energy. Is there more from other lines that could use the same?
You know what? You got to have them playing to their strengths. You know, I don't want Corey Locke, Bobby Butler out there running around trying to finish all their checks. I mean, that's not their game. I mean, they do have to finish checks for sure. They have to eliminate the man from the puck. That's the way they finish their checks. But they don't finish them like Cody Bass, and I'd be a fool to ask them to do it that way. So it's the way we've done it all year long. I don't see us making wholesale changes to the way we play. I still believe in the way we play. I still believe in my locker room. We just have to find a way to come out and get her done. Really, that's it.
Coach, all season you've been saying, don't get too high, don't get too low. This is the first time in a Calder Cup final for most of the guys in your locker room. Do you think the pressure of just where they are, they're starting to realize where they are, and hey, you know, each minute now counts, and each second now, and each shift counts? Do you think that's creeping in at all?
Well, I hope not, you know, because for me, you know, those are the pressures that we don't want, and we talk about that, you know, like we've put ourselves in a position before when we got down to Manchester 3-1. I mean, there were pressures there. We had to finish every game in overtime, and we still found a way to get it done. I mean, that's the beauty of this whole process. I mean, we're chasing a Calder Cup, but at the same time, these guys are getting the opportunity to experience this, which in the scope of all their development is going to be healthy, you know. And you've been around me all year, and you know how I feel. I believe there's a place for both. I believe there's a place for the development in what we do, and I think there's a place that we should be winning every night, you know. I don't think the pressures are getting to them. You know, I'm not putting pressure on the guys. I mean, I'm challenging them for sure to show up and play up to their potential and to do it together as a group the way we've done it all year long. That's really the only way we can do it. The worst thing we could do right now is have guys start to get outside of what we do as a group, start trying to do a little too much individually. That's not the answer. You know, we're not going to get out of this because we have one guy step up and become a hero, you know. It hasn't been the way we've done it all year long, so.
He's been here for a couple of years, obviously making the playoffs meant a lot to him, and then he gets hurt early. Kind of frustrating. How good is it to see him back out there?
It was really good to see him, actually. You know, I mean, we're all big Derek fans, and you know, I could tell when he was out of the lineup just how much it meant to him to get back into the lineup. You know, and that's tough. I don't think we put him in a bad spot. I mean, he's healthy. He was cleared to go, and you know, it's just going to take a little bit of time until, you know, we see him get his game back. And you know, the unfortunate part of it is we got to be a little bit careful there because we don't have time. You know, I mean, we're down to 4 games. You know, 4 games at the most. So, but it was good to see him out there. I'm very happy for him. Anything else? All right, thank you. Yeah.